So, how much longer are you going to pretend that keeping the peace isn't actually just you slowly disappearing? You're exhausted, right? But let's be honest, you're not tired from working, you're tired from shrinking. Let me ask you, how many times have you let it slide this week just to avoid a scene? 5? 10? You tell yourself you're being the bigger person, but let's look at the math. If you're always the bigger person, why do you feel so small? Oh, wait. Is it because they had a hard childhood? Is that the excuse for today? That's adorable. You've turned yourself into a 24-hour trauma center for someone who wouldn't even hold the door open for your feelings. You think your patience is a virtue, but to them, it's just a green light. Every time you stayed silent when they crossed a line, you didn't keep the peace, you signed a contract. You literally handed them the manual on how to break you, and now you're surprised they're following the instructions. Stop lying to yourself. You taught them that your boundaries are actually just suggestions. You taught them that your no eventually means fine, whatever. Do you actually like the person you've become to keep them happy? Or are you just waiting for a thank you note that's never going to arrive? So, let's look at the compromises that have slowly become your entire identity. You tell yourself you're just being flexible, right? That you're the easygoing one in the relationship. Let's test that. When was the last time you made a decision, any decision, without first running a mental simulation of their reaction? Oh, wait. You're doing it for the sake of the peace. That's hilarious. You're not keeping the peace, you're just subsidizing their bad behavior with your silence. You've become a world-class editor of your own thoughts. You catch the words at the back of your throat, weigh them, realize they might cause a mood, and then you just swallow them whole. You think you're being mature, but you're actually just becoming a ghost. Think about the hobbies you dropped because they called them boring. Think about the friends you stopped seeing because it was too much drama to explain where you were going. You didn't give those things up because you wanted to, you gave them up because the tax on keeping them was too high. You taught them that your joy is negotiable. You taught them that if they complain long enough, you'll eventually fold and hand over another piece of who you are. Let me ask you, do you actually think they're going to reward your sacrifice? Do you think there's a trophy at the end of this for the person who disappeared the most? But they need me, you say. Right. They need you the way a fire needs wood. They need you to stay small so they can feel tall. They need you to be predictable so they never have to be accountable. Every time you apologize for something you didn't do, you aren't fixing the problem, you're reinforcing the lie. You're telling them that their version of reality is the only one that matters. You aren't a partner anymore, you're an enabler of your own disappearance. You've spent so much time decorating the cage they built for you that you've forgotten the door isn't even locked. You're staying because you're afraid of the conflict, but isn't the conflict already happening inside of you every single day? You're checking the receipt, and you're realizing the total is your entire personality. Is that really the price you want to pay? So, let's talk about the waiting room you've been living in. You're waiting for a sign, aren't you? You're waiting for the perfect moment to finally stand up for yourself, a moment where they aren't stressed, the bills are paid, the sun is shining, and they're magically in the mood to hear the truth. How's that working out for you? Let me ask you, Is the right time usually right after they've spent an hour explaining why everything is your fault? Or is it when you're so exhausted from apologizing for things you didn't do that you can barely find your own voice? You keep telling yourself, "I'll say something when things calm down." But here's the reality check you're avoiding: they make sure things never calm down. Chaos is their greatest defense mechanism. As long as there is a crisis, a hard day, or a new drama, you feel like a villain for bringing up your own needs. Oh, wait. Are you worried that speaking up now would be mean because they're going through a lot? That's fascinating. They seem to have plenty of energy to criticize your tone, your friends, and your choices, but suddenly they're too fragile to hear that you're unhappy. Stop buying the ticket to a show you already know the ending to. You aren't being patient. You're being a placeholder. You're waiting for a version of them to appear that doesn't exist. You're holding on to a snapshot from the first 3 months of the relationship and trying to overlay it onto the person who is currently gaslighting you in the kitchen. Let's look at the progress you think you're making. You think because they didn't yell at you yesterday, things are getting better. No. That's just a change in the weather, not a change in the climate. You've just gotten better at navigating the minefield. You've learned exactly where to step so nothing explodes, and you're calling that growth. It's not growth, it's survival. You've trained yourself to be so small that you don't even trip the sensors anymore. But I've invested so much time, you say. Right. So your plan is to invest more time into a losing stock. You're throwing good years after bad ones, hoping the math will suddenly change. It won't. You taught them that your time is cheap. You taught them that they can treat you like an option while you treat them like a priority. Every day you wait for them to see you is another day you spend losing sight of yourself. Do you think they don't know what they're doing? You think if you just find the right words, a light bulb will go off and they'll finally appreciate you? Stop it. They know exactly how much space they're taking up. They can see you shrinking. They just don't care, because your smallness makes their life easier. You're checking the receipt again, and the cost of waiting is starting to look a lot like your entire life. Are you going to wait until there's nothing left to save? So, let's look at the next 5 years. If nothing changes, if you keep understanding them and they keep ignoring you, where does that leave you? You're banking on a breakthrough that has zero evidence of coming. You're waiting for them to finally value the person you've become, but have you seen that person lately? They don't even recognize you, and neither do you. Let me ask you, do you think they're going to wake up tomorrow and suddenly realize how much they've cost you? Do you think they'll see the way you flinch when they raise their voice and finally say, "I'm so sorry, let's fix this"? Oh, wait. You think if you just try a little harder, they'll finally appreciate the old you? That's a fantasy. From where they're sitting, the system is working perfectly. They get to be loud, and you stay quiet. They get to be selfish, and you stay accommodating. They have a partner who apologizes for things they didn't even do. For them, this isn't a crisis, it's a luxury. Why would they trade a setup where they have all the power and you have all the guilt? But we have history, you say. Right. And your history is a roadmap of all the times you let them walk over you without a consequence. You're sentimental about memories that happened before they realized they could treat you like a doormat. You're living in a museum of a relationship that died a long time ago. Stop lying to yourself. You aren't fighting for the relationship. You're fighting to avoid the discomfort of being alone. But look at your life right now. You're already alone. You're sitting right next to them, yet you've never felt more invisible. You're paying for their presence with your entire existence. Every day you stay is a vote for your own misery. You taught them that your time is worth nothing. You taught them that your boundaries have an expiration date. And the scariest part? You're starting to believe it too. You're checking the receipt, and you're realizing that the future you're saving for is just a longer version of the nightmare you're living right now. Is this really the life you want to look back on? Or are you going to stop being the architect of your own prison? So, let's talk about the lie you've been living, the idea that leaving is too expensive. You've done the math on the bank accounts, the housing, and the shared friends, haven't you? You've looked at the logistical nightmare of walking away and decided it's too high a price to pay. But let me ask you, have you calculated the cost of staying? Oh, wait. You think you're saving something by sticking around? That's hilarious. You're watching your self-respect liquidate in real time. Every year you spend understanding someone who refuses to understand you is a year you are never getting back. You're trading your sanity for a lease agreement. You're trading your potential for the comfort of a routine that is actively killing your spirit. You're checking the receipt and realizing you're paying for a life you don't even like. Let's look at the peace you think you've bought. It's not peace, it's just the absence of their noise. You've mistaken the silence of your own submission for a healthy relationship. You taught them that they can buy your compliance with a few days of acting normal. You taught them that as long as they don't blow up, you'll keep carrying the entire weight of the household, the emotions, and the future on your back. But I don't want to be alone, you say. Right. Because being ignored by someone sitting 3 feet away from you is so much better. You're already alone. You're just alone with an audience. You're performing the role of a happy partner for a crowd of one who isn't even watching the show. Stop lying to yourself. The cost of leaving is a one-time fee. It's a spike in stress, a move, and a period of adjustment. But the price of staying? That's a subscription model. You pay every single morning when you wake up and realize you have to pretend again. You pay every time you have to explain away their behavior to your family. You pay with the version of yourself that used to have dreams before they were trimmed down to fit into their narrow world. Are you really going to keep renewing this contract? You've already overpaid. The transaction is done. You've given them your best years, your loudest laughs, and your quietest sacrifices. What exactly are you waiting to lose next? So, here's the final inventory. You've spent months, maybe years, teaching them exactly how much you're willing to tolerate. And they learned. They learned that your limit is actually a suggestion and your final straw is just a decoration. Let me ask you, are you tired of being the only one holding the receipt for a life you never agreed to buy? Oh, wait. You're waiting for them to apologize so you can finally feel seen. That's the ultimate trap. You don't need their permission to stop being small. You don't need them to agree that they hurt you before you decide to stop hurting. The balance is zero. You owe them nothing, not another explanation, not another second of your understanding, and certainly not another piece of your future. It's time to stop being an accomplice in your own disappearance. Walk out of the cage. The door was never locked, you were just too busy trying to make it feel like home. If you decide to